everyone, and welcome to BF Terry High School. My name is Shelby Nielsen. I am the college career facilitator here at BF Terry High School. With us tonight, we have Ms. Francesca Harris. She is the college and career facilitator at George Ranch High School, and Ms. Mary Seville. She is the college and career facilitator at Churchill Fulshire High School. They will be working with us this evening to help move us along. Parents that are here in person, if you would like to ask questions during the presentation, Ms. Seville will be monitoring the poll everywhere. Parents who are with us, joining us online, you may ask your questions in the chat. And Ms. Harris will be responding to the chat questions as well. We are so grateful that you have all made it this evening and that you are here with us to go over the financial aid presentation. So to honor everyone's time, I am going to go ahead and get started. My husband is here to pick up my children. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. Again, parents, if you have questions during the presentation, we do ask that you ask your questions in the poll everywhere. We will break every now and then to see what the questions are, to see if we can answer them. And then also, if anyone does need translation services, Ms. Seville is also our translator for the evening. All right. So why are we here tonight? Our goal for this evening is to go over all things financial aid, the different types of financial aid, to educate you about the financial aid, its importance, to educate you about the types of financial aid available, and to educate you on the terms used in the financial aid process. There is a lot of information that we're going to go over tonight. This presentation will be available to you. We will see if it's able to get posted on the district website for Terry parents. It will be posted in Canvas. I will share it with the other CCFs as well. Financial aid is a resource available to every single student in the United States. There are different types of financial aid. There are grants, scholarships, there's work study, which is working on campus, employment, and then there's loans. The different ways you apply for financial aid, you are going to apply for either FAFSA, PASFA, or the CSS profile. FAFSA is for U.S. residents and permanent, U.S. citizen and permanent residents. TASFA is for Texas residents. And the CSS profile is a financial aid application used by private universities. You also have university scholarships and third-party scholarships. Financial aid is a way for you to pay for college. You have free money, which are your grants. Grants are free money you don't pay back. It is need-based money, so grants are based on how much the parents make. If the parents are married, it's their combined income. And if the parents are divorced, separated, never lived together, it could be based on both parents' income or just one parent's income. Scholarships is free money. Again, that does not have to be paid back. Some scholarships are need-based. Some scholarships are merit-based. Some scholarships are application-based, leadership-based, things like that. Then we have loans. Loans do have to be paid back. That is money you are borrowing, and so it does have to be paid back. Loans are not a bad thing. Okay, do not be afraid of loans. The key with loans is do not ever take more than what you need and stick to the federal loans. Federal loans are capped every year. Students cannot take more than a certain amount of federal loans. So watch how much your student is taking and only take what is needed. And then work study is where the student, it is income based. Work study is income based. It's based on the parent's income. It is where the student has a job on campus. So the student gets a job in the library or in the financial aid office or at the bookstore. Typically, the employment will be somewhat related to the student's major. So if the student is majoring in business, they might place the student in one of the business offices on campus. So they try to make it related to what the student is planning on studying while they are in college. The paycheck typically is paid directly to the student for the student to choose how they use that money. So they can use it for their miscellaneous expenses. They can go ahead and start paying back their college loans, whatever they need to do. But typically the money goes straight into the student's pocket. All right, so there's a lot of terms that you're going to hear when it comes to financial aid, and it can get overwhelming, and it can get scary, and it can get confusing. So we are going to go over some of our main terms. So you will hear us say FAFSA, you will hear us say EFC, verification, and SAR. Those are some of the main things you're going to hear us say. FAFSA is your free application for federal student aid. That is the application that is submitted. It is the student's FAFSA application. It is not the parent's FAFSA application. The application for financial aid offered through the United States government. You must be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. You must have a social security number to complete the FAFSA application. The EFC, that is your estimated family contribution. That is basically how much the federal government thinks the parents can give the kids each year. I will tell you it's always wrong in reality. The EFC from my household, they might say, oh, you can give your kid $30,000 a year to pay for school. I don't know where they're going to come up with that $30,000, but that's not true. So it's what the government thinks the parents can give the kid to pay for school. The EFC is not how much the government is giving the student. It is how much the government thinks the parents can give the student. Verification. When the student submits their FAFSA application, it's going to be processed by the government, and then the student's going to get an email back. In that email, that is the student aid report. That's the next thing. But that email is going to say, okay, Johnny, your FAFSA was successfully processed. All things are great. Here's your EFC. And now you can start getting your financial aid award letters from home. Or it's going to say, Johnny, there's an error in your FAFSA. You have been flagged for verification. You need to either go in and correct the error in your FAFSA, or you're going to need to fill out all the verification documents with every single college that you've applied to and been accepted to before you are able to be awarded money. Sometimes the verification process can be fixed by just logging in and clicking on make corrections in FAFSA. And it's as simple as you put the wrong initial in a name, or you put the birth date backwards. That might be one way to fix it. Just depends on what it is. The main reason a student gets flagged for verification is because the parent did not link the FAFSA application to their IRS tax return. That's the number one reason that the student gets flagged for verification. And we're going to go over that in a second, but if you don't link to IRS, it automatically flags the student for verification. A student cannot receive their financial aid award from a college or university until that verification process has been completed. There are usually 4 or 5 pieces of paper that have to be filled out to complete the verification process, including requesting a copy of the parent's IRS tax transcript. Not just getting a copy of the 1040 EZ paperwork that we file with the government. You have to actually request the full-on tax transcript and send that into the government. So number one way to make sure that this doesn't happen is make sure you click the link to IRS button. The next one is the student aid report, SAR. That is the email that the student gets once they've submitted their FAFSA and it gets processed. They're going to get an email back that says your student aid report is now ready. Your SAR is now ready. The students can access their student aid report in their FAFSA account. That is going to tell the student what their estimated family contribution is, if they've been flagged for verification, and what they need to do to make corrections on that flagged application. This is an example of the student aid report. The student aid report, you'll see the estimated family contribution. So you'll see that that says 0. So the federal government, in this example, the federal government thinks the family can give that student $0 a year. It could be $1 million a year. It just depends on how much the family makes. What is that family income? That's going to determine what that EFC is. Okay, so it can be anywhere from 0, or if you're Bill Gates' kid, it can be millions of dollars. Okay, so also the way you'll know if the student has been flagged for verification, in that paragraph underneath it, it will say the student's been flagged for verification. But if there's an asterisk next to that dollar amount, that also tells you that the student has been flagged for verification. So if you ever see an asterisk next to the EFC, you know your student has been flagged for verification. FSAID. That is just the fancy name for the username and password for the FAFSA account. Every student has to have an FSAID, and one parent has to have an FSAID. Okay? If your student is FAFSA eligible, meaning they are a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, they need the FSAID. If one of the parents is a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, then one parent needs an FSA ID. This is how you log in to the FAFSA, and for the parent, this is how you link to the IRS. That's how that link works. You have to have that username and password. Now, if you made it for your older student, you don't ever have to make it again. Once you make it, that's your FSA ID. If your student is a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, but you are not, your student will still do FAFSA. The parent just will not create the FSA ID. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick, and I would like to introduce our new amazing principal here at B.F. Terry High School, Mr. Brian Roberson. Everybody give him applause. No. You were just here. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew you were here. Get that money. So FAFSA does not open until October 1st. The only thing that you can do, the student and the parent can do right now, is create that FSA ID. So when you leave here today, go home and create that FSA ID. It takes about 3 days for you to receive an email back saying, you exist in this world. Basically, that's what it's going to say. The email is going to say the Social Security Administration has verified your identity and you are who you say you are. That takes about 3 days. You want that done well before October 1st. That way, when FAFSA opens, you don't have any waiting that you have to do to be able to hit the submit button. Because if you wait until October 1st to create the FAFSA, the FSA ID, then you still have to wait 3 more days before you'll actually be able to submit the FAFSA application. So get that part done now. That way October 1st comes, you don't have to wait. In the application, when the application, you start the application, it's going to ask the student questions. It's got about 4 or 5 pages of student questions. Then it's going to start asking parent questions. And then it'll start asking parent financial questions. When it gets to the parent financial questions, it's going to say, do you want to link to the IRS? This is the data retrieval tool that I was referring to earlier. And the answer should always be, yes, I want to link to IRS. You really, really, really need to use that data retrieval tool. It is very important. If you are a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, you have that Social Security number and you file taxes, you need to use the data retrieval tool. If you don't, it will automatically flag your student for verification. So please, 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 if you hear anything I say, create the FSA ID today and make sure you use the data retrieval tool. All right. TASFA. TASFA is the Texas Application for Free Student Aid. This is for our students who are not eligible for FAFSA. This is Texas state aid. Students who are eligible for FAFSA, U.S. citizens or permanent residents, they have the social. TAFSA is for our students who do not have social security numbers. They have to have lived in the state of Texas for 3 years and at least 1 year before attending college. If you meet those and graduated from a Texas school. If you meet those requirements, then that student is eligible for FAFSA. You can't be eligible for both FAFSA and TAFSA. You are either FAFSA eligible or you are TAFSA eligible, okay? We want every student completing either the FAFSA or the TAFSA. Number one, it is a high school graduation this year, graduation requirement to submit the FAFSA or the TAFSA. Number two, there is free money out there, lots of it. And if you don't hit that submit button, you're not going to get that free money. So we want our students to get as much money as they can qualify for. So press the button, submit the FAFSA or TAFSA application. Loans. There are 3 main types of loans. Again, don't be afraid of the loans. Be aware of the loans. Be cautious of the loans, but don't be afraid of the loans. Because if you can invest in a car or a house, why can't you invest in your education? That car, you can wreck it. The house will burn down. Nobody's going to take your degree from you. Nobody's going to take the certification from you. Loans aren't a bad thing, but don't ever take more than what you need. Subsidized loans are federal loans that are based on the family income. Subsidized loans, a student does not get charged interest for that loan until they graduate or stop going to school. They don't pay back the loan for 6 months after they graduate or stop going to school. Hopefully it's the graduate, not the stop going to school. Okay, so subsidized loans are based on family income. Not every student qualifies for the subsidized loans. Okay, those are, you don't get charged the interest while you're going to school. Unsubsidized loans are federal loans. Every student qualifies for the unsubsidized loan. You can be Bill Gates' son and you qualify for the unsubsidized loans. Unsubsidized, I think this year is capped at about 3,500. The subsidized was 2,000. One is 2,000, one is 3,500. And so if you're only taking $5,500 a year in loans, that's $22,000 for a 4-year degree. Really, that's not that bad. Most cars are well above $22,000. Again, if you can finance a house, you can finance a car, it's okay to do a little bit of financing for your college education. Then you have Parent Plus loans. Parent Plus loans are federally backed loans. They have that lower interest rate, but it's for the parent. So there is a credit check involved. So, but the range for the Parent Plus loan is a lot smaller than the private sector education loans that you can get from a bank. Never go to a bank and get a loan. Only do the federal loans. Going to the bank and taking out loans, that's where these kids have $80,000 in student loan debt because they wanted to go to a $60,000 a year school and didn't have enough money covering it. So they had to go get a loan from Wells Fargo. Let's be smart about what we're taking and what we're doing, but don't be afraid of those loans. For the student loans, okay, the subsidized and the unsubsidized, the student doesn't pay those back until 6 months after they stop going to school. Parent Plus loans, those start getting paid back as soon as it's fully distributed to the parents. So you do start paying those back as soon as you take them. That is a parent loan based on parent income, based on parent credit score. Student loans, subsidized and unsubsidized, there is no credit check involved in those. Cost of attendance, need, direct cost, indirect costs. Okay, cost of attendance, that's the COA. You'll see that written down a lot. The cost of attendance is going to be every single thing. That is your tuition, your fees, your room, your board, your textbooks, your living expenses, everything that you pay directly to the institution and you go into Starbucks. All of it, right? That's what, so when you look at the sticker price for a university, what they're showing you is the cost of attendance. So if you look at UT Austin, it's currently $29,000, $30,000 a year to go to UT Austin. But that includes travel expenses. That includes your miscellaneous expenses. That they're putting everything in there. And when we look at how much is it going to actually cost you out of pocket, we're going to mainly look at those direct costs, which are the costs you're paying to the school. So a direct cost is your tuition, your fees, your room, and your board. Money that you pay directly to the college. If you're living on campus, that's your room and board. If you're living at home with mom and dad, you don't have room and board unless they're making you buy groceries too, which I say good on you. Help contribute to the households, right? Need is the amount of cost for attendance that your money cannot afford to pay. So in other words, remember we said that the EFC was how much the federal government thinks your parents can give you to pay for college. So your need is cost of attendance minus that $0 or minus that $1 million. The need is what's left over. Okay, so if the cost of attendance is $20,000 a year, the family, the EFC is $10,000 a year, then your need is $10,000 a year because that was what's left over. Indirect costs are the cost incurred by the family, the student for everyday living, travel, Starbucks, going to Walmart, checking out all the pretty picture frames in Target. That's your indirect cost. You don't take loans out for indirect costs. You get a job to pay those indirect costs. Okay, so we never take loans out for indirect costs. Only direct costs would we use any sort of grant money or loan money to pay those direct costs. And the CSS profile is another type of financial aid application. The CSS profile is a financial aid application through the College Board website. It is typically for your super highly selective universities, Baylor, TCU, Trinity University, Yale, Harvard, Stanford. Those schools, they are going to require the CSS profile. Your Texas state schools, they do not require CSS profile. That's not something you would need to worry about for any of your Texas state schools. And there are very few private universities that require, public universities in the US that accept the CSS profile. All right, so let's dig a little deeper into the FAFSA. What is the FAFSA? It's the federal application, the free application for federal student aid. The application helps colleges and universities see how much money your family needs to help pay for college. When do you apply for FAFSA? FAFSA is available online every year on October 1st. So if your senior in high school has already filled out the FAFSA, they filled out the wrong one because it doesn't open for them until October 1st. It opens October 1st for the following school year. So as a senior in high school, when it opens on October 1st, they are going to be submitting the 23-24 FAFSA application because that is their freshman year in college. The FAFSA application that is currently opened at this moment is the FAFSA application for the 22-23 school year, which is their senior year in high school. So that's not the one they're going to do. They're going to wait until October 1st, and on October 1st, or as close to October 1st as you can possibly get there, they are going to do the 23-24 FAFSA application. And then every single October 1st that they are in college, they will be filling out the FAFSA for the next school year. So senior year in high school, 23-24. Freshman year in college, 24-25. So on and so forth. FAFSA you have to do every single year. It's not a one and done. Every October 1st you do FAFSA. Let's see. What do I need to do in order to fill out the FAFSA? You'll be using the student and the parents' 2021 tax information to submit the FAFSA for fall 23. Most of our students do not have 2021 tax information. that was their sophomore and junior year in high school. So January of sophomore year in high school to December of junior year in high school. Unless they had a job, spring of sophomore year, fall of junior year, they don't have anything to put in there. It's going to be zeros for them. If they had a job for the 21 year, they do need to go and find their W-2 for that job. They probably didn't file taxes, so that's not the issue, but they are going to need their W-2 if they had a job spring of sophomore year, fall of junior year. That's something they will need. You, as the parent, will need to have submitted your 21 taxes. So as long as you have already done your taxes for the year 21, you're good to go. That's got to be done because the student cannot get the FAFSA submitted without you having done your taxes yet. So that's what we need to make sure has been done. So again, right now, all you can do as a parent is create that FSA ID and make sure your taxes are done. The timeline, that should have been changed to a 21. The parents fill out their 2021 taxes. Then in October, the FAFSA opens. During the spring, the student will start receiving their financial aid award letters. And then in August, for whichever college they decide to attend, the money will be sent to that university's financial aid office and distributed to their account at that college or university. So that's kind of how that works. So we're submitting FAFSA starting October 1st. They will not know what their award is until about January, depending on the school. Okay, it may be later than that for the schools too, but it all depends on when they submit the FAFSA and when they've been accepted to that college or university. So the cycle, the student and one parent must create the FSA ID. The student created the new FAFSA, the student creates and submits the new FAFSA application. The FAFSA is all automatically sent to the federal government. The government determines the EFC. The government sends the information over to the college that the student lists in their account. And then the college awards the money to the student depending on what's in the FAFSA. The money doesn't actually come from the federal government. The money comes from the college. So the student can list 10 colleges in their FAFSA application. Once the student has been accepted to those colleges, the colleges can start seeing what's in the FAFSA application. Then once they get it, when they've been accepted and the college reviews the information, then the college will tell the student, okay, this is how much you're going to get from us. It's going to be about the same from most schools. Most schools, it'll be about the same, right? But every single individual college will send that student a financial aid award. Free money runs out first. That's why we want students to submit the FAFSA as close to October 1st as possible. It's important to research all the deadlines for the colleges that you are applying to. This includes financial aid, scholarships, and admissions. Scholarships and financial aid deadlines are typically earlier than the admissions deadlines. Do not miss deadlines. The Texas priority deadline for FAFSA and TASPA is January 15th. Some colleges have earlier FAFSA and TASPA priority deadlines. For example, A&M's is December 15th. So you don't want to miss those deadlines. Pay attention, especially to those scholarship deadlines. That's very, very important. How will I know which schools to list on my application? I haven't finished submitting my applications, Ms. Nielsen. I'm not going to be done until November. That's okay. You need to pick the 10 colleges and go ahead and have them sent. Okay. You can send it to 10 schools. Let's say that you send it to those 10 schools and then, I'm a basketball star and I just got offered a huge scholarship to an 11th school. You log into FAFSA, you take one off, you add that one, you resubmit. Okay. Lots of universities have what are called tuition promise plans. This is a plan where they will give you enough grant money to cover the tuition at the school. These tuition promise plans are need-based grants applied to tuition and mandatory fees. Most of the schools don't cover room and board with the tuition promise plans, but some schools will give additional grant money for those. Typically, the student must be Pell Grant eligible. They must meet family income guidelines. They must meet college admissions guidelines, and they must meet FAFSA completion guidelines. Now, again, we talked about this earlier. Submission and completion are different. You can submit the FAFSA application, you get that SAR back, but that doesn't mean you're completed if you've been flagged for verification. If you've been flagged for verification, your FAFSA is not complete until you have completed the verification process. If you haven't been flagged for verification, then you're done. You're complete. But if you've been flagged for verification, you're not actually complete yet. Okay, so that's the difference. So you have to make sure the FAFSA process is completed, not just submitted. Here are a couple of examples of tuition promise plans. So Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the student has to be Pell Grant eligible. The family income is $125,000 or less, because there's different levels to the institutional Islander guarantee. It could be full tuition, or if you're up to that $125,000 a year mark, it's going to be partial tuition. Right, so this is grant money applied to tuition, not to room and board. UT Austin's, they have full tuition at $65,000 and then partial tuition at $65,000 to $100,000. University of Houston is $65,000 a year. I will say, for U of H, if you meet certain academics and certain needs, I've had quite a few students get their little full ride scholarships for U of H based on academics and need. Okay, U of H does. I always tell students there's more than 3 colleges in the state of Texas, but I will say U of H gives out good money. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind too. Changes to the FAFSA for the 23-24 school year. Every year things change. This year there's a few more changes. I will say next year there will be a ton of changes. The entire thing is changing next year. Once your kiddo gets through this first cycle, you'll have a little bit more knowledge under the belt, so it'll be good. And then when the next cycle starts, it'll all be different. You can come back next year to the presentation and we'll understand the differences with it. All right, so the differences for this year, there is no longer a mobile app. Students could use to download a mobile app and submit the FAFSA on that. There is no longer a mobile app, but you can still do it on a mobile device through the web browser. They have updated some requirements to the homelessness and special circumstances questions. They've removed the male or female question. They have removed the have you registered for selective service question. They've also removed the ability to say, yes, I want you to register me for the selective service. So if you have a son, they used to could register for the selective service through the FAFSA application. They can't do that anymore. Now they still have to go to the courthouse or to the post office to get that part done. They've removed the drug conviction question. Incarcerated students are now going to be Pell Grant eligible as well. And the income threshold for the automatic zero EFC increased from $27,000 a year to $29,000 a year. So the family income, the cap or the automatic zero EFC was at 27 and now it's moved up to 29. FAFSA is first come, first served. The free money goes first. So you want to get your FAFSA done as soon as you can. In the state of Texas, we guarantee if your student has completed the FAFSA process by January 15th, they are guaranteed to get what they qualify for. But if they complete the FAFSA process on January 16th, we cannot guarantee that they will get what they qualify for. Last year, Pell Grant, full Pell Grant was $6,950. $6,950 will cover pretty much all of your costs at Wharton, at HCC, and TSTC. Don't wait to submit your application so you can get that free money. If I could give you one piece of advice, like I said earlier, get your FSA ID made now and make sure you use that data retrieval tool. How do colleges figure out how much money to give my family? Before we can do that, we got a few more questions that we need to answer. Again, as I said earlier, If you had an older student, you've already made an FSA ID once, you don't need to make it again. If you made one for yourself to go to college, you don't need to make another one. That FSA ID stays with you forever. If you're like me and you always forget what your passwords are, that's okay. There's a forgot password button on the FSA ID website that you can click to reset your password. All right, how do I get aid? Make sure you list your 10 schools in your application. You can look it up by name, or you can go and search up the university code. The schools will use your information to process your financial aid application. Remember, cost of attendance is that big, huge dollar amount that you see on the website. Your EFC is how much the federal government thinks that your family can give you to pay for college. Your need is the difference between those two, okay? The need bracket is what qualifies you and helps you determine what grant programs you will qualify for. Grant programs include federal Pell Grants, the SEOG, your state grants, your TEG, and your Texas grant, university grant programs like the Cooper Promise. Grants range, and that needs to go up, anywhere between $2,000, $6,905 a year, depending on the type of grant and what the Pell Grant amount is each year. Each year Pell Grant goes up. I can only imagine, I'm pretty sure it's going to be over 7,000 this year, because it was 64, then it jumped up to 66, and then it was 69. So I'm pretty sure it'll be over 7,000 this year. Remember the difference between direct costs and indirect costs. Direct cost is money you pay directly to the college, and that's the actual dollar amount we are going to be looking at when we say financial aid. I love your babies with everything in me, but we're not taking out loans and we're not using grant money to go buy Starbucks. Go get a job. It's okay to work in college. Employers actually prefer it. Okay, so it is okay if they work 20 hours a week so they can afford the few things, the extra things that they want. There's nothing wrong with that. Colleges prefer to see that on their resume because it shows the colleges that they know how to manage their time. So here's an example of cost of attendance for different universities. Rice, tuition is $52,000. Room and board is about $14,000. And then you have books at about $1,300. And then you have your miscellaneous, they estimate is about $3,500. Rice has a huge tuition guaranteed program. It's about $140,000 a year. They will waive the tuition, $52,000. So then the student is looking at the room and board, and then the miscellaneous stuff. So again, loans, we are only using our loans to pay those direct costs. So if you look at the direct cost for UT Austin, the direct cost for UT Austin, you have $11,488 for tuition. And then you have $12,768 for room and board. Those are the direct costs. That $724 and that $4,500, you're not taking out loans for those monies. That's where you go. You have your on-campus job, your waiting tables, something like that to help you buy your books and pay for the extra stuff that you're wanting to do. You will see that if you look down to HCC is obviously, community colleges are cheaper, right? It's all about what you are wanting in your college experience. If you are wanting to stay at home, HCC is about $1,600 a semester. So about $2,400, $5,000 a year, right? So it ranges in how much different programs and things like that cost. So you can use more grant money to pay for HCC than you would be able to UTSA or something like that. But remember, direct costs is what we're looking at for our grant monies and our loans. We are not looking at those miscellaneous expenses. As I said earlier, loans are not a bad thing. Do not be afraid of loans, but never, ever take more than what you need. If your student goes to grad school loans, they will offer your student a ton of money in grad school loans. I got them. and I shouldn't have taken them, right? I should have only looked at how much it was going to cost me to get that graduate degree, because I ended up having to pay all of that money back. And my grad school loans were way more than my undergrad loans. But I didn't have somebody sitting there saying, hey, Shelby, you don't need $10,000 to pay for this grad school. You only need $6,600 to pay for fall and spring. Don't take the full 10, only take what you need. Okay, so be aware of what else, because some of our students, when they get their grants, their merit-based scholarships and things like that, they may only need $2,000 more to pay for the school year. Well, but they got offered $5,500 in loan. Only accept 2,000 of the 5,500. That's how you keep your monies low. Federal loans always have better payback options than your third-party loans. Stay away from the third-party loans if you can. We would like for you to stay away from third-party loans. You don't start paying back the loans until 6 months after you stop going to school. Hopefully that's graduate, not stop going to school. What if I don't claim my student? I have kids ask me this all the time, but Miss, I'm 18. Yes, I know. I have an 18-year-old at home. Hopefully she's watching right now too. She still needs our income. They still need your income. The only way your student does not need your income is if they are 24 or older, they are a ward of the state, they are married themselves, or they have a child already, or are currently pregnant, or already have a child. Other than that, the student has to have parent information on their FAFSA. It is required by law. So when your student says, I need your social security number because I need you to make a FSAID, they need that information because they cannot submit the FAFSA without it. Okay, there are very few circumstances where a student does not need parent information. For our kids at the high school level, it is typically because they qualify for homeless status or because they are parents already. Right. This is a FAFSA video. I'm not going to play it, but it's about a 10-12 minute little video that you can watch to kind of give you a really good explanation of the FAFSA process and how FAFSA works. You will notice that if you watch the video, the dates say 22-23. That is because this was the video for the class of 22. So when you watch it, just know that the only difference really is the dates in it. So you're going to be remembering your child is doing the 23-24 FAFSA. So before we go on, Ms. Seville, are there any questions that we would need to address?
So the one question that we had for the is going to be about the estimated family contribution. Is it per year?
Yes, it changes every year. And if there is something that happens, so let's say that in 2021, both parents were employed, but one of the parents lost their job in 2022. Every university has a special circumstances form that the family can fill out to show a change in income from the 21 taxes to where you currently are in 2022. So if something happens and there's been that change, you can get with the financial aid office at that college and notate that change in there. But yes, FAFSA is done every single year, so the EFC could change every single year depending on the level of income. TASFA is the Texas application for state aid. So this is for our students who do not qualify for FAFSA. FAFSA is federal aid. TASFA is Texas state aid. FAFSA is an online application. We call it a smart application. You answer a question, it may skip the next question and go to the next. So it's what we call a smart application. The TASFA application is a PDF application. It is fillable on the computer, so the student can download it and save it. They can type in the application and save it. Once they've typed in the application, they'll save it, they print it out, they sign it, the parent signs it, and they send it to every single college that they are applying for. The TASFA application does not go to any government agencies. It only goes to the college's financial aid office. It does not go to any government agency whatsoever. The state of Texas priority deadline for colleges, for TASFA, like other colleges, is January 15th. But again, make sure you're paying attention to the deadline, because some institutions have that mid-December deadline, depending on when their admissions deadlines and things like that are. There are more than 115 colleges and universities in the state of Texas who accept the TASFA. If they don't accept the TASFA, then they accept the paper FAFSA, which is very similar. We print out the PDF, we fill it out, and we turn it into the financial aid office. One thing that the TASFA usually does require is a copy of the parent's either tax return, right, the 1040 easy form, or if they file federal taxes, the tax transcript. They'll tell you which one they'll accept. The instructions for the TASFA are in there. It's got a lot of detailed instructions. It comes in Spanish and in English. I am happy to help your student complete the TASFA. They can complete the Spanish one, and what I do is I print out the English one and I sit right next to them. I'm like, okay, so this is, and then they fill it out on the Spanish one, so it helps them. So we're able to sit there and go over it together. And then they can save it. They can print it in my room. They can take it home to you, and you can sign it and then turn it into the college that you're planning to apply to. This is a picture of last year's TASFA. So remember, the only change is going to be where that date is. The date will change to 23-24, but other than that, it should look exactly like this. So this is the TASFA. And so you'll see where it says last name, that's a typable box so the kids can type. You don't have to handwrite it. You type it in and then you save it. I have two wonderful videos. Again, they're about 10 to 12 minutes long. One is in English, one is in Spanish. That you can scan the QR code so you can watch if your student qualifies for TASFA. This will give you a great resource and a little bit of an understanding on how it works, where it does or does not go. When in doubt, come and talk to us. We are here to help you. That is our job. Let one of us know what you need, because we want to help you with anything that we can. We are here for you guys anytime you need us. The CSS profile. Any more questions? Kind of breaking after each section. No, just. No. Okay. We'll get yours at the end, okay, sir? All right, so the CSS profile. The CSS profile is accepted by about 240 colleges in the U.S. Again, this is a different kind of financial aid application. This is for our highly selective private institutions, the ones that have the $70,000 a year sticker price, okay? The cap on the income level for the CSS profile is, say $140,000 to get free tuition, where we saw the automatic zero EFC for the FAFSA was $29,000. The automatic zero for the CSS profile is going to be like $140,000, because those colleges are way more expensive too. So colleges usually require both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. If it's one of those, highly selective Baylor's, Yale's, Rice's, they will require FAFSA and CSS profile. There is a fee to submit the CSS profile. There are fee waivers available, but there is a fee. It asks more information than the FAFSA. So the FAFSA takes, if you do the FAFSA right, I know it all sounds scary, but if you're doing the FAFSA right, it takes 30 minutes. That's it. You've already made your FSA ID. The students already made their FSA ID. It's basically typing in information. You click a button to retrieve your finances. It automatically populates. Boom, you submit the application. Literally, it takes 30 minutes to do the FAFSA. It takes about 3 hours to do the CSS profile. There is no data retrieval tool. So you have to have all of those papers in front of you to do the CSS profile. You've got to have all of your assets. You've got to know how much you have in credit card debt. You've got to know how much you have in the bank. You've got to know what your mortgage payment is. You've got to know all of this stuff for the CSS profile. But like I said, the income cap is way higher on that CSS profile too. So it is a lot more tedious to fill out, but you get a lot more money from it when you do. So do not skip the CSS profile. The CSS profile is done through the student's College Board account, not through the parents. The parents do not create a College Board account. It's done through the students. It can only be filed online. Similar to the FAFSA, it is a SMART application. So if you say no, then it'll skip whatever questions are under that. Also, like the FAFSA and the TASFA, it opens October 1st every year. If you're going to one of those super highly selective universities, you do CSS profile every year, just like FAFSA. Again, it's not free. There is a $25 filing fee and then $16 fee for every college you want to send it to. So it's not a free application unless the family gross adjusted income is under $100,000. The student qualifies for an SAT fee waiver, or the student is an orphan or a ward of the state. Then they can get a fee waiver. The College Board system will automatically know based on the application if the student qualifies for that fee waiver. So it's not something you put in. It'll automatically notate to the student if they have to pay the fees or not. The CSS profile is to award institutional grant money. So this is not federal money. This is institutional money. So you may qualify for full Pell, which is $6,900. You might qualify for the Texas grant, which is about $2,000. So that's, you know, almost $9,000 that the student qualifies for right there. That's federal money. The institutional grant money could be $30,000. Because it's from the university, it's not from the federal government. Again, you'll need those documents, the same kind of documents that you needed for the FAFSA, but more. And with the FAFSA, you have to just push the data retrieval tool button, but here you cannot. In addition to your 21 taxes, it is going to ask you to make an estimate about the 2022 school year, or finance year, and the 2023 finance year. So it's going to say, how much do you think you're going to make in 2022? And how much do you think you're going to make in 2023? So it asks you to make estimates about those. Again, it is so important for these colleges that require the CSS profile because it gives you so much more free money. If you are full Pell, you're academically advanced, you can go to Baylor for uber cheap, but they require the CSS profile. You have to do the CSS profile to get that additional institutional grant money. They will not give you the institutional grant money if you don't do the CSS profile. All right, scholarships. Before we do scholarships, any questions? All right, so scholarships. There's two main kinds of scholarships. Scholarships are university scholarships and third-party scholarships. University scholarships, obviously, they come from the university. The university scholarships can be merit-based, they can be need-based, they can be leadership-based, they can be application-based, it can be an athletic scholarship. There's all kinds of university scholarships out there. And then you have your third-party scholarships. You have the Gates scholarship. So all of the Terry parents, I sent a bunch of Terry kids the Gates scholarships information the other day. We have the Posse Foundation scholarship process that our students are going through this year. You have the Coca-Cola. We have the VFW scholarship that'll be getting sent out soon. You know, there's so many third-party scholarships out there. They can range from $500 to full ride scholarships. There are so many out there. Pay attention to the scholarship deadlines. Most university scholarship deadlines are way before the admissions deadline. Texas State scholarship deadline is December 15th, but the actual admissions deadline is March 1st. If you don't submit this application and follow their rules by December 15th, you've just missed all the free money you qualify for. The deadlines and the rules vary depending on universities. Some colleges require the student, or some schools, the admissions application is the scholarship application. U of H, as long as the student submits the application and has their transcript and everything sent by November 1st, that is the scholarship application. UT Austin, the admissions application is the scholarship application. Texas A&M has an additional application in Apply Texas. Some schools you have to be admitted to the university before you can fill out the university scholarship application. Every school is different and it just depends on the university and what their rules are. Lucky for you, we have a spreadsheet that gives you all of that information because there's about 80 four-year colleges in Apply Texas. The kids will come to us and say, Miss, how do I submit colleges for this school? Well, there's 80 colleges. I don't really know. So we put everything on a chart and the chart tells you everything you need to know about submitting the scholarships for that school. And it's all of the schools in Apply Texas. It's not out-of-state schools. Kind of capped it at our Apply Texas schools. It takes a while to update this information each year. So, but you'll be able to see the university, the essay requirements, the application opening date, the application closing date, the application fee, and how the scholarship application process works for that specific school. Some schools will say, oh, essays are optional, but then you read the fine print for the scholarships and you see if you don't do essay A, you won't be considered for scholarships. So it's really important to make sure you're reading all of the information, and we worked really hard to bring all of that information into one place for the students. At Terry, this can be found in the Canvas course, and last year at Fulshire as well. So make sure you're checking that out, especially if your student is applying for Apply Texas schools, because like Sam Houston, November 1st. U of H, November 1st. Like these deadlines are coming up quick. It's almost October already, it feels like. So make sure that they're looking at these dates because some of the schools, like Sam, you have to be admitted before you can apply for the scholarships, and the scholarship deadline is November 1st. So that's a quick turnaround getting things done. How do I find third-party scholarships? Miss, where can I go to get scholarships? School links. School links, school links, school links, school links, school links. Almost everything that we do outside of submitting the Apply Texas or the Common App application is going to happen in School Links. And in School Links, you have a finance section. And in the finance section, it's got scholarship match. The student can either do the scholarship match and it'll show them scholarships that they match with, or they can sort it by due date. They can sort it by highest dollar amount. They can sort it by location. They can sort by all different kinds of things to see what the different scholarships are that they want to qualify for. So it is a wonderful resource. So School Links, School Links, School Links, School Links, School Links. There are thousands of third-party scholarships out there, and there are millions of scholarship dollars that get left sitting on the table each year because students don't submit the scholarship applications. So it is super important that you don't overlook the $500 scholarships because the kids are gonna, oh, that one's not worth my time. I don't know about you guys, but for an hour of my time, $500. Who in this room makes $500 an hour? I don't. If you can do a scholarship application, it only takes you an hour and it's a $500 scholarship. That's like getting paid $500 an hour. Take the hour, do the scholarship application. Most scholarship essays are very similar to your Apply Texas application essays. Don't rewrite the essay, tweak it. Reuse the essay. Work smarter, not harder, right? Use the tool sets that you have. There's no reason to reinvent that wheel. Come to us, let us help you, let us show you resources we have for you, but do not overlook those smaller scholarships. A few years ago, I had a student who received a full tuition scholarship to Georgetown. I don't know if you know how selective Georgetown is, but they admit about 2% of the applicants, and it is about $80,000 a year. She had a full tuition scholarship. She needed room and board coverage. She applied for so many $500, $1,000, and $2,000 scholarships. She only had to come up with $3,000 out of pocket. Room and board there is like $18,000. $3,000 is all she had to come up with, because she applied to those little bitty scholarships that other students weren't applying for. So scams, never pay for a scholarship, right? The only time you're paying for financial aid is if you're doing the CSS profile. Everything else you should never have to pay. There's scholarship websites out there. Oh, pay 99 cents a month. Don't do that. I guarantee you we have those scholarships in school links, okay? If you go to FAFSA.com, it looks like a real FAFSA application. It's not. They're going to ask you for $76 at the end. Don't do that. It's FAFSA.gov, okay? Never pay for a scholarship. All right, our next steps after today, when you leave here, have your student and you create that FSA ID. Get that done so that it is ready to go on October 1st. Make sure your taxes, your 2021 taxes have already been filed. That is very, very important. As I said earlier, if there is a change in your taxes from 21 to 22, someone lost their job, there was a death in the family, there are special circumstances forms with the university that you can complete. When October 1st gets here, patience, love, and understanding with the FAFSA website. There's about 6 million seniors in the United States. The website will crash. It will be very slow. It will lag. It might kick you off a couple of times. Patience, love, and understanding. There's 6 million seniors all on one website. It's gonna be slow, okay? Just understand that it's gonna be slow. Nelson, I tried to do it last night. It wasn't working. It was the first. Of course it wasn't working. All right, so we have a couple of more financial aid presentation nights and workshops. So the next financial aid presentation will be at our district CCMR night, which is October 4th. The district CCMR night is our district college fair. At the district college fair, we'll have about 100 colleges, all of the military organizations. We will have scholarship organizations. We'll have our CTE programs, lots of booths and tables for our students and families. So please try to come to the district CCMR night. It is at Foster High School from 6 to 8 p.m. There will be 3 financial aid presentations that night. They are 30-minute presentations, and there will be 3 different sessions that you can attend. Then we will be having a financial aid presentation at so that is on at Fulshire High School. That is a workshop. There will be financial aid professionals and computers available to help you with the actual FAFSA application or the TASFA application. So if you want someone to help you actually submit the FAFSA on November 8th at Fulshire High School, we will have a workshop. And then another workshop will be available on November the 15th at Lamar High School, right across the street, in the Lamar Library. And then back in Lamar, again, on January 10th, there will be a presentation and a workshop. So at workshops, we have college financial advisors available to you for you to ask questions, get help with linking to the IRS, filling out the TASFA, whatever it is you need, they will be there. There will be English and Spanish speaking professionals available to help our families with the actual FAFSA application. CCMR night, as we said, is October 4th, 6 to 8 p.m. at Foster High School. Please, we encourage you to attend. We have 12 breakout sessions during the during the event. Everything from how do college admissions counselors actually review an application, and so they will be going over what the admissions officers actually look for in the application, to veterans benefits. How many veterans do we have here? I know that I don't understand how veteran benefits work, and I've been doing this job for a long time, and I still get confused. One of our CCFs is the wife of a retired Navy officer, and she will be going over all of the information that our veteran parents need to know on how to use those veteran benefits for their students. So we'll have quite a few breakout sessions available to you. The ones that are from third-party organizations will have 3 different sessions. If it's one of the CCFs providing the presentation, there will only be one offered that night. These are our district, our high school level college and career facilitators. So if you have questions, please reach out to your CCF. I am the CCF here at Terry. Ms. Seville is at Fulshire, and Ms. Harris is at George Ranch. We also have Ms. Bufamonte at Lamar High School. We have Ms. Nowak at Foster High School, and we have Mr. Garber at Randall High School. If you have questions, please reach out to your CCFs. That is what we do. We work with you. We work with your students. We are here to help support your kids and support your needs in anything that we can, in any way we can. Thank you so much for coming tonight.